All right, here we go. In three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to Know the Score. I'm your host, Don Delarente, and I'm joined by my co host, none other than the Libra icon, Dwayne. What's going on, Dwayne?
Not too much. It's Championship Saturday, and we got a lot of good games going on. Let's get it.
All right, man. This is Know the Score. Know the Score is being brought to you by the CSPN. You can find the CSPN on the web at www.cspn.us. All right, so we're going to start with the NFL first because we all knew Antonio Brown was getting traded. We just needed to know to which team. So we figured that out as he got traded to the Oakland Raiders for a third and a fifth round pick. Well, Dwayne's old friend, Dave Gettleman, said, "Hold my beer," as the Giants traded Odell Beckham to the Cleveland Browns for the 17th pick in this year's draft, a second round pick in next year's draft, and safety Jabril Peppers. So, Dwayne, we're going to leave Antonio on the back burner for a second because we all knew that was the news that was going to happen. The Giants, 1 year after signing Odell Beckham to the richest wide receiver contract in NFL history, ship him out of town to the Cleveland Browns. So, my first question is, what does Dave Gettleman have against playmaking Hall of Fame caliber wide receivers?
That's a good question because I'm sure somebody, a legend in Carolina, has the same situation when, Steve Smith got traded, and that was a very sad day, but enough about that. So, I was Dave Gettleman thinking, as much as we question what he's doing, there seems to be a method to the madness because this was the same reaction. The Giants fans had the same. I had the same reaction when Carolina cut Steve Smith, and Dave Gettleman is big on getting linemen on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and then working the way backwards. So he starts up in the trenches, and he goes to the outside, and he'll get rid of people who don't seem like they're within his vision, and also kind of like personalities. I also noticed it was also kind of like a personality thing because Steve Smith Steve Smith has brash personality. He got shipped out of Carolina. Odell Beckham, brash personality, got shipped out of New York. Josh Norman, remember how they placed the tag on him, and then they took the tag back. Josh Norman has a brash personality. So it's one of those things where if you have like a big, boisterous personality, you're not going to really fit into Gettleman's system. D'Angelo Williams he had a pretty big personality in a sense. It wasn't as flamboyant as Smith or Beckham, but he got shipped out. So it's one of those things where you wonder what is going to be the future of the Giants. And it kind of worked out for Carolina because Carolina had a lot of other pieces around them, other key pieces around. But the Giants they're kind of like a rudderless ship at the moment. And, you didn't draft a quarterback last year when you had a lot of great quarterbacks available. And not saying it's not a knock on Saquon Barkley because Saquon Barkley is a great pick. But, you kind of needed that heir apparent to Eli Manning. And that's going to be the next domino. What are they going to do with Eli? But I will say with Dave Gettleman, answer the original question again. There's a method to the madness that he goes through. He doesn't really. He does what he feels is best for the team. It's his decisions, and he's going to make those decisions. And he makes those decisions by taking feelings out the equation, whether it's the fans' feelings, the players' feelings. He's strictly when he makes those decisions, it's strictly business, and it's the nature of the beast.
So let's switch it over to the Cleveland Browns. So the Cleveland Browns, as we've talked about on this show, they look like they have the model to be a contender, where they have a quarterback that's on a rookie deal that looks like he can play. They have some playmakers on the outside. They got a rookie running back on a rookie deal. They got a rookie pass rushing end that's still on his rookie deal. He's just going to be a third-year player this year, Myles Garrett. So it looks like they've got the formula set up to contend for the next 3 years at least. So now they add Odell Beckham to the mix. Freddie Kitchens is taking over as the head coach. He was the offensive coordinator once Hugh Jackson got fired and Greg Williams took over as the interim. So all things are pointed up for the Cleveland Browns. Can they handle the expectations of what Odell Beckham brings to their team now that he's been traded over there?
Optimism's very high in Cleveland. Like you said, you have a great quarterback on these deals. You have a great two running backs. You have two running. Yeah, not one but two running backs on rookie deals because you still got Duke Johnson on his rookie deal as well.
And Kareem Hunt too. He got
And
suspended for 8 games, but he'll be back.
he's back and he's on an even better deal. So you have a loaded backfield. You have a young tight end in David Njoku on a rookie deal. So there's going to be a lot of expectations and optimism, but the games are played on the field, not on paper. But this offseason, we can only take a look at what we see right now. So, Beckham and Landry, they were college teammates at LSU. Um, then, so they have the familiarity right there. And I think getting out the city is going to be good for Odell because he can focus on football. Look at what happened with, different sport, but kind of a same situation. Look at J.R. Smith. He had the bright lights, big city in New York with the Knicks. He went to Cleveland, and his numbers went up because there's nothing to do but focus on what you do. So, I want to say that they have what it takes, and the defense anchored by Myles Garrett, and you also forgot Denzel Ward, rookie cornerback on his deal as well. So, it's going to be a great situation, great season. I don't think they're going to be instant contenders in year one. Maybe by year 3, if everything works out, they'll be up. They'll be in the AFC title picture, things of that sort. But at the moment, they could definitely contend for the AFC North. Baltimore will probably be the team I think is better from the top down. Cincinnati's a lot of question marks and amongst a lot of changes. Of course, Marvin Lewis ain't there anymore. I forgot who is the new head coach in Cincinnati.
I think his name is Zach Taylor, the quarterback's coach from the St. Louis Rams.
All right. Thank you for
AKA
that.
one of Sean McVay's friends.
Okay, so that will be very interesting because we'll see what he does with Andy Dalton and AJ Green. But I would say probably Cleveland will probably be up there in that mix with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. I'll say the Steelers, even though they don't have AB anymore. They do got Juju Smith-Schuster there. Um, you know, James Conner, and they still have some weapons. Eli Rogers. So all's not lost in Pittsburgh, but I say Cleveland's definitely not going to be the laughing stock. They proved that last year, and they're definitely going to go. The trajectory is definitely upwards for them moving forward.
All right, you touched on Antonio Brown. Like we said to start off this program, he is moving on to the Oakland Raiders, and the Raiders have given him a new contract extension with $30 million guaranteed. So Oakland, they're going to play in Oakland again this year, as they're not going to make the move to Vegas quite yet. How does Antonio Brown fit in your estimation with Jon Gruden and Derek Carr?
I think he fits in very well. I think just the camaraderie that he has, and I think he really changed it up. I mean, we saw, you know, how we saw the uh, the bleach, the bleach goatee, the bleach mustache, the crazy hair, but it looked like it was more of a reserved Antonio in his press conference, and not just his press conference, but just the way he was talking and reflecting on his time in Pittsburgh. It was a different kind of Antonio Brown. It wasn't the flashy alter ego AB that was there. It was somebody who's like, okay, I'm excited about this new opportunity, this fresh start. I want to make a good impression. I want to put the work in, and he's always put the work in. Not to say he's never has put the work in, but he is really all in. And I think Jon Gruden has some plans for him. I think with the way not just you have, you know, Derek Carr, who only had Jordy Nelson to throw to, he really didn't have anybody else to throw the ball to um, this past season, but he's going to have a lot of weapons. And give the Raiders a lot of credit. I mean, we looked at them like, what are they doing when they were shipping everybody out? Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper, all that. But now, you know, they've literally revamped the whole offense, and they've taken this offseason and made significant improvements to the team after what was a very rough season, to say the least.
AFC West is going to be so much fun adding Antonio Brown to the mix. He gets to go up against Denver's defense, Kansas City, and Oakland. That long-standing rivalry should be now an outstanding shootout. As you know, both of those teams can prove they can score, and San Diego should always be in the mix as well. So hopefully Antonio Brown, does work out for the Raiders. I think what we saw was, I got to make sure I get traded. So let me perceive to be as crazy as possible, just so, what I'm saying, they won't try to talk me back in the fold this time.
And I think it worked because I just think also, and I think with the way the Steelers were over the last few years, there's a perception that they prioritize Roethlisberger over everybody else. I think there was one report where they were saying they kind of alluded to it was like Big Ben and 52 other kids. So, these are grown men, and I think that was kind of a slight. And, Ben does things that the team lets him get away with and doesn't hold him accountable versus everybody else. So the culture in Pittsburgh could be a little bit questionable if that is what's going on, and we'll just have to see how that plays out from here on out.
In other NFL news, we had the Combine, and of course, the main attraction at this year's Combine was Kyler Murray and he measured up. He was 5'10" and closer to 5'11" than you think. His hands were rather large. He did not run the 40. He did not throw. He just, made the measurements so everybody could see that he was tall enough. His hands were big enough. So now with the way that the NFL seems to be embracing this newer style of play, it looks like he's projected to be the number one pick. So that means that Arizona has to now do something with Josh Rosen. So Dwayne, I want to ask you, what is Josh Rosen's trade value?
Yeah. Does he have any trade value? Yeah, he does. I will say that. I'll be nice. So, I would say he's probably going to be worth maybe a first and or a second round pick or third pick, because they got him pretty high in the draft this last year. Um, looks like if the Cardinals do end up going with Kyler at number one, it does create an awkward situation because you drafted Josh Rosen as the future and the franchise going forward, but you already dismissed Steve Wilkes, and now you're already on the verge of getting Josh Rosen on out as well. It's not. It hasn't been the what they envisioned. So literally tearing everything down and rebuilding yet again with poor Larry Fitzgerald, who's embracing this rebuild somehow, some way. But I don't know. I think he's got trade value. And I'm sure if he's in a better system, he wasn't in a good system because he had a defensive-minded coach with offensive coordinator whose style was antiquated. Like Mike McCoy's offense was not effective. It wasn't effective when he was a head coach. It hasn't been effective as a coordinator. So, what at this point, with the air raid offense that's coming around, like you said, it's a new style of play, and you know, think about how much fun a Cardinals 49ers game or a Cardinals Rams game is going to be with all this offense that's happening now.
Speaking of trades, a team that was mentioned to be in the trade market for Josh Rosen, the Washington football team, they made a trade with Denver for Case Keenum. Case Keenum becomes expendable because they picked up Joe Flacco, right here in the beginning of the free agency period after he was released from Baltimore. Or was that a trade? Did they trade for Joe
It
Flacco or
was
was
a
he
trade.
released?
It was a trade.
Okay, so all
I
right,
think for
so
like a fourth round pick.
right. So now they had a log jam there. Case Keenum, they picked up last year to be their starter, didn't have the best results. So the Washington football team in need of a quarterback because Alex Smith does not look likely to play in 2019, have traded for Case Keenum. Your thoughts on the Washington football team picking up another quarterback? And do you see them still maybe being a player in the Josh Rosen sweepstakes eventually?
I think they would be a player. I think it would be a good move, a better move. You have a better quarterback, possibly. You have a potentially better fit for him, and they need somebody young. Washington does, They can't continue to rely on veterans and ineffective backups like Mark Sanchez. I mean, this is not. This is something, especially with well, if it wasn't for the Giants, I would say the dumpster fire in the NFC East would be in Washington with the court in regards to the quarterback situation. But with the Giants not really knowing what they're going to do in their quarterback situation, that's a much worse off thing. But with Case Keenum, I think he was blindsided by that Flacco trade. That was really essentially just saying like you did not get the job done. This wasn't the player that I wanted. That I got from Minnesota. And when Minnesota, even after a successful season, doesn't sign you to an extension and they go after Kirk Cousins, that really kind of tells you a little something about Case Keenum. So, yes, Washington would be a good fit for Josh Rosen. I even thought of another quarterback that we'll mention a little bit in a little bit. And I just think that now with Rosen being available, it just depends on what kind of compensation Washington would be willing to give Arizona at this point. Definitely, I would not give up one of your top picks for Josh Rosen, but I'm sure they'll work. I'm sure something could be worked out if they really, really wanted to go that route.
The Dolphins and your hometown Titans, they worked something out as the Dolphins traded Ryan Tannehill to Nashville. So he's presumably going to be the backup for Marcus Mariota. And that will give the Titans some insurance if Mariota, who is often injured, does get hurt this year. They can have someone that can run a similar style of offense where they don't have to make a 180 type of shift in their plans. So, Dwayne, you've got the inside scoop on the Titans and the Nashville guys, what they're thinking right now. How's this move going over?
Well, the hometown team, I just live here. I ain't from here. But this is a good move for Tennessee. And I spoke with a lot of Titans fans about this, and they're actually happy with this because, it's not Blaine Gabbert. So that was really their main reaction to it, is not Blaine Gabbert. So, and like you said, it allows them to have a quarterback that knows the system, that knows a similar style of offense. And we know Marcus Mariota is made of glass, so I don't think he's ever recorded a full season since he's been on the Titans roster. And this definitely allows the Titans to have a competent backup, someone who does have experience starting in the NFL, even though it wasn't really that successful in Miami. If we really want to take a look at it, that could be a destination for Josh Rosen right there, the Dolphins, because Tannehill's gone. That was the quarterback I was referring to, as well as Washington would have been a destination for Ryan Tannehill. But this is a good move for the Titans. This was a brilliant job by John Robinson getting somebody serviceable and somebody who's effective and somebody that can be on a good team for years to come, because they got the defense, they added some real good talent on the defensive end. They have a good offensive line. They have a great running back in Derrick Henry. Once Delaney Walker comes back, that receiving core with the wide receivers and tight ends should improve significantly. And that's about it. That's all I got for the Titans and things of that sort.
So the free agency period began this week. So some notable free agent signings. Earl Thomas, he's going to sign with the Ravens. Terrell Suggs, he left the Ravens and he's going to sign with the Cardinals. Le'Veon Bell, he's back. He signed with the Jets. Nick Foles, he officially ends the Blake Bortles era in Jacksonville as he signs with the Jaguars. The Washington football team make Landon Collins the richest safety in NFL history with a big deal. Golden Tate, I forgot where he went to, Dwayne. Remind me, please.
The Giants.
The Giants, yes. He replaces Odell Beckham as he's going to be their number one receiver. Mark Ingram, he's headed to the Ravens as well, as his time in New Orleans has come to an end. Justin Houston, still out there on the market as he got released by the Chiefs. The Chiefs are also trying to make a trade for Dee Ford, but we'll see if they have any takers.
I think he's going to San Francisco.
Okay, there you go. Anything else as far as notable free agents that you've heard or guys that I may have missed? Tyrann Mathieu, I know he went to the Chiefs.
Yeah, Tyrann Mathieu went to the Chiefs. Tyrell Williams is in Oakland, joining Antonio Brown. The Raiders released Jordy Nelson as a result of that move. And then Quan Alexander, formerly with the Bucs, he signed with the 49ers as well. Latavius Murray is going to replace Mark Ingram in New Orleans with a 4-year deal. And Matt Paradis, he was the center in Denver. He signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. He will replace Ryan Khalil, who retired. So Cam Newton's going to have a new center. Once Matt heals up, he'll be the guy hiking the ball to Cam Newton, who's doing very well in shoulder recovery from the shoulder surgery he had in the offseason. I actually been listening or following his YouTube videos, and really just gives you a good, insightful view of Cam on and off the field. So definitely something to look out and watch out for. So Thomas Davis, after the Panthers said they wouldn't be renewing his contract, he signed a deal with the LA Chargers for 2 years, $10.5 million.
So the landscape of the NFL is forever changing around this time of year with the free agency trades for quarterbacks. This year has been the tone of this offseason. So we'll continue to see what happens up through the draft. The NFL continues to make news every 2 months. They have something that happens.
Which is in Nashville, by the way.
Congratulations. Are you going to try to make it? Are you going to try to go?
I am. I'm actually trying to see if I can go and, try to see if I could even, maybe get a press pass somehow. So we'll see what happens.
There you go. So hopefully that works out, man. That'll be a cool experience to come back to the show and talk about for sure.
Absolutely. One way or another, I'll give my findings and whatnot. I'll let you know what's up.
Pull up on Monty Jones and try to sneak in.
There you go. Be like, I'm a long-time follower, man.
Right. This is Know the Score. I'm your host, Don DeLaurenti. I'm joined by my co-host, the Libra icon, Dwayne. Know the Score can be found on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Spotify, and also YouTube. So we're going to shift over to the MLB. It took a while, but Bryce Harper finally got his money. It wasn't $400 million like we thought it was going to be, but it was a 13-year deal worth $330 million from the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Phillies came up just short last year, making the playoffs. They lost out to the Atlanta Braves in the division. But this year, they boasted up their lineup before even signing Bryce Harper. They look like they have the best young pitching besides the Braves in the division. So I'm going to ask you, Dwayne, to your chagrin, are the Philadelphia Phillies the favorite to win the National League East this year?
Do I have to answer this question?
I mean, don't be letting your hate conflate your opinion.
Nah, they are the favorites, and it's definitely, they definitely have loaded up pretty significant additions, and the Braves are still in the mix. They are the defending champs. The Nationals, even with the loss of Harper, they did very well in the offseason, adding pieces to their lineup. The Mets did a good job, actually. I think there's a lot of good moves that were made amongst the NL East. The Marlins probably didn't make the most noise. I know they're still in the rebuild process, so it's going to be very interesting to to see what happens this season because games are played on paper, and I'm also just waiting to see how things are going to go in the next few years if Bryce Harper the production starts to fall off, and Philly fans start to express their selves very freely about him. So we'll see what happens.
A lot of people are predicting big things for Bryce this year just because of the ballpark and the prior success that he's had in that ballpark as a visiting player. And they figure if he plays, all those games there, that his numbers should be fairly well. I think Bryce Harper's biggest thing is he just needs to be healthy. He's always nicked up. He's always hurt, and it's always affecting how he swings and his approach at the plate. So if he can get a year of relatively, great health where he doesn't have any nagging injuries, doesn't crash into the wall and have to miss, 10 days because he hurt his shoulder or hurt his wrist. I think that would benefit him more than anything that, a ballpark or anything like that. Just have good health.
Right. But it's only going to be the richest contract in MLB history for a very short period of time because there's a certain somebody in Los Angeles that's going to get a huge payday very, very soon.
Well, speaking of an NL West team giving out a big payday, the Colorado Rockies and Nolan Arenado, they agreed to an 8-year, $260 million contract, and it has the highest average salary in the league of $32.5 million. So I guess the Colorado Rockies don't consider themselves small market no more.
Well, absolutely not. I mean, you want to keep your players, you want to pay up, and I know this is kind of a new age of baseball where small market teams, quote unquote, are able to pay their big stars. So look at San Diego. They're able to lure a big star, and with this case with the Rockies working on getting one of the brightest young stars to re-up for this amount of money, and only can imagine what's going to be next. And the certain somebody I was referring to was Mike Trout, because we know he's going to get a very big payday very, very soon.
Yeah, he is. Mike Trout's going to be in a very interesting situation as the Phillies look like they still have more money to burn, and Bryce Harper is going to probably have to pay a fine for tampering because he's been openly campaigning for Mike Trout to come over to Philly. So we'll see what happens when Mike Trout gets out on the open market and where the floor is, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be about 350.
Right. And here's the thing though with that too. The Angels can pay him. But the only problem with the Angels right now, if they wanted to give him that kind of money, there's a certain player that seems to not want to retire, in Albert Pujols.
Well, isn't he coming to the end of that 10-year deal? Isn't this like this?
He's got like 3 years.
He's like 3 years. 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's not going anywhere. So he said, I guess he's going to wait it out. But
Pujols is like, I could just retire and y'all still give me this $3 million and prorate it. But nope, I'm going to play it out and get all my money.
Exactly. So that could definitely affect Mike Trout. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Pujols is really just sitting here saying, I'm good.
All right. So Major League Baseball is in spring training right now, so we'll definitely try to link up with Nabias and see if we can get like a preview show heading into the season, see what's going on with the Braves and what they're looking like in spring training and who he sees. It looks like they'll be running into shape. And can somebody knock off Boston? They look like they're going to be in good position to repeat and see if the Yankees can compete and have something to say about it.
Yeah. Can't wait.
So, Dwayne, we'll shift over to basketball, and we'll start with the NBA. The Lakers, they throw up the white flag for this season as Brandon Ingram will miss the rest of the season due to blood clot issues. Lonzo Ball has been shut down for the rest of the season due to an ankle injury. And the Lakers said they will rest LeBron James during the final handful of games this season. I guess this is the quote unquote load management that's become so popular in the league as far as guys taking games off and getting rest. So at the beginning of the season, everybody didn't figure the Lakers would be a quote unquote title contender, but we expected them to be a part of the playoffs, at least a second round team. They got the matchup just right, and everybody matured and ran it into their roles. That this could possibly, if all things lined up just right, they could get into the Western Conference Finals in the first year. Well, none of that happened. They're sitting in the room on fire, and it looks like Luke Walton is going to be the first fall guy as soon as the season ends. So, your assessment, Dwayne, of the Lakers' disastrous season and LeBron James, how does he turn this season, this bad season, into a good summer?
Well, number one, get healthy. Number two, and get some better role players around him. That's going to be the top two priorities. And so it's going to be very interesting with the way the Lakers move in the offseason. I think it's pretty glorious, personally. And that's for the simple fact that what's the word I'm looking for? The quality of talent that's around them. I mean, they had the trade rumors, the expressed desire for Anthony Davis, who is also part of Rich Paul's agency, Clutch Sports Entertainment. And he did say that with the way that things have been going, like I said, Luke Walton is going to be likely that casualty, the fall guy. But this has been anything but what people expected. I think people, like you said, expected at least a Western Conference Finals run. And, you know, within any kind of striking distance. I was just looking at the standings today. The Lakers are like 9 games out of that 8th spot in the West with 13 games to play. So it's definitely a white flag season. This has definitely been a season to forget, especially amid all the fanfare, all the excitement. And this is the end result. Just a rudderless ship. We'll see if they can get something back on track.
So we're getting close to the playoffs. And of course, that means there's battles to be the 8th seed. In the Eastern Conference, the battle is between Miami, Orlando, and Charlotte, with Miami holding the 8th seed currently. So, Dwayne, that's been Kemba Walker's one thing he hasn't accomplished. He's done a lot. He's an all-star, gotten a lot of recognition, but he, can't seem to make it into the playoffs. Do you see Charlotte being able to overtake Miami and hold off Orlando and make it into the playoffs this year?
If they can win and get some help from Orlando and Charlotte and Miami for that matter, they can make you forget the pain of that previous season. So I just don't see what I just don't see what's going to be the big. What's the word I'm looking for again? Mm, let's see. Uh, okay, cut it. Let me start over. I'm sorry.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, okay. So if we with the Lakers, are we still not? We're still on the Lakers, right?
No, we're on the Hornets trying to get into the
Oh
playoffs.
yeah, the Hornets. Okay, okay. So with the Hornets situation with the 8 spot out west, they gotta find ways to win on the road. That's been their biggest problem. They're 21-14 at home, but they're 10-23 away from the Hive. So the road woes have been killing them. Kemba Walker has done everything in his power. I mean, he's been to the playoffs once. Um, Charlotte hasn't won a playoff series since 2001, when the last time the Hornets made the playoffs. They did make the playoffs as the Bobcats once, but were eliminated, and then they were swept. Not a couple years ago when they made it. So Kemba Walker's been to the playoffs a couple times, but not a couple times, but just once. But he hasn't won in the playoffs yet, and I think what's going to have to take is the Hornets need to find a rotation. They've been playing a lot of guys, and there's no continuity and no fluidity of their offense. So it's just one of those things where everybody across the board has to do better.
All right. Now out west, the battle is between Golden State and Denver for the top seed. It looks like Golden State, they've had some issues here the past couple of weeks. They've been trying to rest some players. Klay Thompson missed some games due to an injury, and they dropped a couple of games you normally don't see them drop. They lost to Orlando. They've lost to Phoenix. So what's going on with Golden State, and do you think they'll be able to enter the playoffs as the number one seed in the playoffs this year?
Golden State is just going through those March lulls, as I like to call them. And those March lulls are where you play so much basketball in such a short period of time where you're just exhausted from it. So it's just one of those things where they'll. It's kind of like a switch. They'll have the switch back on by the time that the playoffs begin. I just don't see. I just don't see them not only falling to the number 2 seed, but I don't see them, losing that focus when the playoffs begin. Now, don't get me wrong about Denver. Um, they are a great team. They have proven to be a great team. They're very well coached. But I think the experience factor, especially as we get closer and closer to April, will still be as effective of a tool.
All right, so that's the NBA talk for this edition of Know the Sport. Now we'll shift over to a little bit of college basketball as UNC, they got a sweep of Duke last Saturday. They share the ACC regular season crown with Virginia. During the week leading up to the ACC tournament, Zion Williamson was named the Rookie and Player of the Year in the ACC. And then we got the much anticipated matchup between North Carolina and Duke, with Duke at full strength. And Zion Williamson proved to be the difference by 1 point. Duke was successful in the semifinals, 74-73, as they moved on to play Florida State in the finals as they upset number 1 ranked Virginia. So, Dwayne, I'll let you speak on the Big 12 in Kansas. What they got going on? They're still here. They didn't win the regular season title, but they got a chance to win the conference tournament.
And they got work to do because they're down by 10 at the half.
Do you feel like this is one of those years where you're coming in underneath the radar and maybe this is what you need because you won't have as big a target on you as you normally do, and maybe you guys can play loose and Bill Self can coach a little bit looser?
I think that's what I think over the last couple of days in the Big 12 tournament, you've seen kind of a different kind of a team. And I think over the last few games, despite them being losses and not only the fact they're not coming off losses, but they're also dealing with a whole different um, a whole different vibe. So um, things really things really went south for Kansas after Udoka Azubuike went down with that wrist injury and subsequent surgery, and then but to finish third in the Big 12 and now be in the championship, that's always a great thing at the end of the day.
Now we've had some movement on the FBI college basketball shoe scandal. And the big bombshell, besides a couple of, I think it was three guys that went to jail, was that Mark Godfrey has been reported to be the one that handed over payments directly to be given to Dennis Smith Jr.'s family during his recruitment to NC State. So this is the second biggest bombshell next to, I guess, Archie Miller being on the wiretap. And the new revelation with LSU's coach Wade also being talked about, being caught on the wiretap, talking about pushing recruitment through for a player. So it seems like this isn't going away, and now the coaches are getting tied a lot closer to these improper benefits. So how do you feel that the NCAA will handle this thing with Mark Gottfried and NC State?
Um, it's gonna probably be a long time for them to do something because there's a lot of things going on that should be punishable, but they're not going to. They're not going to enforce anything or make any step judgments until they get all of the. I think that with the, I think I with the way that things are going with this case, it's a long drawn out process, and they are also sending these information. Let me see. Let me start it over. I'm sorry. Nah.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So I think with the way that this case has been going on so far, it's a long drawn out process. You got more cases that are still to come. So the immediate results, I don't see anything being affected by NTA doing anything affecting this ruling, unless unless I'm trying to see which is what here. I would love to see. Yeah, I would love to see the way this plays out, and I think that's really what it's going to boil down to. I mean, Godfrey's Is he an assistant somewhere? Is he a head coach?
I think he was on TV the last time I saw him, but he maybe have slipped back into the coaching rank somewhere.
Okay, I mean, if Dave Bliss can get a coaching job, anybody can. So, um, but yeah, Mark Gottfried, he's got a lot of questions to answer to about this situation, and I want to say somebody. Well, we haven't heard from Dennis Smith Jr., of course, but it would be interesting to see what is going to be the fall and the end result of all this.
Yeah.
Godfrey's at Cal State Northridge.
Okay. All right. So there'll definitely be something, like you said, it may take a while, but we'll see what type of sanctions and things that get handed down. It may be a thing where Godfrey goes to jail and the NCAA doesn't get a chance to do anything to him, but who knows where the investigation will take us. So definitely something to keep your eye on. I know they always tend to, timing is everything, and they bring this up right before March Madness, So right. It's the way things work, but we'll see what happens with the investigation going forward. So, Dwayne, at this time, man, we've come to the end of the show. So it's time for your shout outs and thank yous and your final thought.
Shout outs to the listeners. Shout out to the hosts, the people, Don. Definitely do a magnificent job with the CSPN. Always thankful for the opportunity. And shout out to my family and dearest friends. My final thought, I would have to go to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're about 19 points to 29 points clear of the rest of the NHL for nobody in sight for the competition. In terms of competition, they've lost a few games, but they're like at 110 points. The next team is the San Jose Sharks at 94, so 16 points ahead. But the thing is, the team that wins the President's Trophy usually does not fare well in the playoffs, and so we just got to be wary of that fact as well. But shout out to the Tampa Bay Lightning; they're really doing their thing.
All right. Let's see. My final thought will probably be, since I'm watching this Xfinity race as we record this, just Kyle Busch going for 200 career wins throughout all three series of NASCAR. It's a lot different accomplishment than Richard Petty's record-setting 200 Cup wins, but it's still 200 wins nonetheless. It's a great accomplishment. It's a career goal of Kyle Busch, obviously. He has the most career wins in the Truck Series. He has the most career wins in the Xfinity Series, which is the series just below NASCAR Cup. So, and he has 51 wins in Cup as well. So he's 33 years old. So there's no telling what his final totals will be. He continues to love racing, and he's always up front and they continue to win races. So I think that people should take a second to marvel at what Kyle Busch is doing. Appreciate it, even though he is the villain of NASCAR. Appreciate it. And when he does get this 200 wins, celebrate it. And then after that, you can go back to, booing and saying the things that people say about Kyle Busch on every other Sunday or Saturday. So big shout out to Kyle Busch, Joe Gibbs Racing, and the team and all that he's done in his career so far, and I look forward to what's to come. I'd like to also give my shout outs to Dwayne, the Libra icon, for joining me. Everybody here on the CSPN, all the podcasters who put forth the time and efforts to make the podcast network be what it is. So thank you. Thank you to all the listeners. Please subscribe and listen to all our podcasts. Be sure to check out our Patreon page over on patreon.com/CSPN Media. Also, do some shopping with Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Mother's Day is coming up, so you can help out your favorite podcast network and get something for your mom by going through CSPN.us. Click the banner on the top of the page that says Keep Our Podcast Free. Click on Amazon, do your shopping as you normally would. Some of your purchase will come back to help keep Know the Score free each and every week.
Mama.
So thank you once again to everybody who's listening. Also, check out our college basketball preview. I had Russell Hangline from the 2.1 Seconds to Madness podcast as my special guest. We talk about the conference tournaments, and we also talk about the brackets and the 6 to 8 teams that you need to look out for as true contenders. Russ also gives you some mid-majors to watch out for as well for those upsets. So if you want to be the smartest person in your bracket, in your office pool this year, please take a listen to Russ. He has fantastic knowledge. He watches a lot of games. He knows a lot of players, a lot about these teams, and he really goes by the numbers. So please check that out right here on Know the Score and CSPN. So for the Libra icon Dwayne, I'm Don Delarente, and now you know the score. All right, brother. I appreciate you on your Saturday night, man.
Yeah, no problem at all, man.
All right, bud. I'll go put some editing on this, and I'll have it out in a couple of hours or so.
All right, cool.
All right, man. I'll be in touch with you to try to get something else up here soon.
Yeah, I'll be off. I'm off Thursday, Friday because tournament.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
So
we'll see what we can do. That sounds
all right.
All right, bud.
All right. Later.
Later. Yeah, perfect.